So, some prick who works for Time magazine, and yes, this guy is a prick. Now, as someone who's a libertarian, I believe that our constitutional rights are important, that they shouldn't be infringed upon. And I think everybody, even if you're not a libertarian, you're watching this, I think every American should hold true to the fact that our constitutional rights shouldn't be infringed upon. Anyway, so this prick wrote an essay called "Why Older People Shouldn't Vote and Other Ideas Unpopular with My Parents." This is how he starts off his essay. These are his first two paragraphs. Old people aren't good at voting. I don't simply mean that they don't vote like I do, or I would also say that old people are bad at watching TV, picking restaurants, and gagging my interest in stories about their friends' children. No, old people vote short-sightedly, choosing the least progressive outcome. In surveys in the US and the UK, people over 65 compared with people under 30 were nearly twice as likely to be against gay marriage, twice as likely to be pro-Brexit, half as likely to support legalization of marijuana, nearly 5 times less likely to want to spend money on education, 60% more likely to vote for Donald Trump, and nearly 50% more likely to say immigrants have a negative impact on society, despite the fact that they are being wheeled around by them. Whether these figures are accurate is irrelevant, since old people are so bad at Googling. Yeah. So, first of all, I'm going to tear this guy a new asshole, because he deserves a new asshole. First of all, since older people have more experience than this guy does, and since they were raised in a different time than this guy was, he doesn't like the fact that they have a different viewpoint on the United States than he does. So, yes, some older Americans are not progressive or liberal. Some are ultra-conservative, and that's okay because we have the right to be whatever the fuck we want politically in this country. That's the beauty of freedom of choice. That's the beauty of freedom of choice. We can choose what political affiliation we identify with. But apparently to this fuck, he thinks that, oh, it's okay, because old people are kooky and have Alzheimer's disease and have Parkinson's disease, it's okay to treat them like shit. Anyway, so just because, while it's true that while 60% are more likely to vote for Donald Trump, who the fuck cares? It's their right to vote for Trump. Apparently this guy wants to make it illegal to vote for anybody but Hillary Clinton. So, he says that older people in the 65 plus age group are bad at Googling. Who gives a fuck if they're into technology, okay? They don't need to use technology. They have a better way of communicating. Seeing people face to face. Yeah, that's a better way of communicating than using Google. Anyway, and he criticizes older people for gagging his interest when they're talking about their friends' children. Yeah. So he's going to complain about older people talking about, their grandkids or their great-grandchildren. Fuck you. Anyway, it gets worse. Their poor choices were always a problem, but it's become far more acute now that there are so many of them. The over 65 generation does not accurately represent our country because they are overwhelmingly white and actually vote. So unfortunately, we're going to have to bar them from voting. Oh. Hey, dipshit. I have a low reality check for you. Not everybody who's over the age of 65 is overwhelmingly white. What about the 65 and over group who are black? What about the 65 and older group who are Hispanic? And you want to take away their right to vote? Go fuck yourself. Anyway, when I ran this idea by my 76-year-old father, he partly agreed. Quote, if a 90-year-old has what you can define as dementia, you can test for it, unquote. He said, I explained that I was thinking more of 76. I explained that the problem wasn't that seniors forget things as much as they remember the world of 60 years ago and want to reproduce it, but one challenge of arguing with older people is that because of all of the cable news watching and founding father book reading, they know more. My dad mentioned satire decisis. Using Edmund Burke's argument that society is so complex that radical change often has horrible, unintended negative consequences such as Napoleon, communism, and horrible rap music. Okay. So, you praise older Americans, older voters in the 65 plus age group for knowing more. Okay. Then why the fuck you want to take away their right to vote, you dipshit? And so what? Your father doesn't like rap music. Okay? Big goddamn deal. He also argued that experts are often wrong. In 1980, pundits thought a movie star shouldn't be president during a Great Recession. Economics were sure that Fred's expansionary monetary policy would lead to inflation. Quote, we might think that the England they voted for isn't going to do so well in the world. But we don't know that, unquote, he said and said and said. So, he's just saying what people thought of Ronald Reagan's campaign. They didn't think a movie star would be good as president. Okay. Your point is? So your father's recalling more shit than you ever will. Which is pretty impressive. Anyway, looking for a counter-argument, I called Jason Brennan, a Georgetown philosophy professor whose new book is titled Against Democracy. He said my anti-democratic idea was worth investigating as it might lead to a better result. So, yeah, your idea is pretty goddamn anti-democratic, if you ask me. I'm all for people voting. It's a goddamn right we have. It's a constitutional right we have. Don't take it away, you fuck. We should pick the best people to vote and take emotion out of the process. Yeah, but people can vote on emotion regardless of age. Duh! Hey, dweebus! Did that ever, pop into your goddamn head? Quote, if you go back 300 years, there's this idea that kings and majestics are, and the rest of us are not. He said, continuing, we didn't equalize it by taking down kings. We said everyone has majesty. I think that's silly. We should think of voting rights as plumbing licenses, unquote. So you want to go back to the days of, the founding of our country, where the peasants, like the average Joes, like you and me, weren't able to vote because we weren't in Congress? You think older people are too dumb to vote when you just praise them in earlier in your second part of your essay for being smarter than most voting blocks? Hypocritical. And also, if we just leave voting up to, the corrupted Republicans and Democrats in Congress, there would be no good result for the average working human being. Think! This makes sense to me, since I would not want a really old guy working on my sewer pipes. No. We shouldn't think of voting rights as, working on sewage pipes. You know why? Because sewage pipes are different from fucking voting. Voting, it consists of, going to a booth or a computer screen, however your state does their voting thing, and then you punch a card or you click on the name of someone you want to elect. That's how voting works, okay? It's simple. But plumbing, piping, whatever, is much more difficult. You actually have to know, where these pipes go, which other house they might correlate or have a connection to, where the main sewage line is if there's a main break. Voting isn't like sewage pipes, okay? While I agree that a lot of people who are in the 65 and over block are more educated than the people in the 50 and under block and the 30 and under block, that's true. They are much more well-rounded and well-educated because they've seen a lot more than the rest of us ever will. It's just the truth. They've seen more. They were raised in the Great Depression, or they were, children of those who were raised in the Great Depression, or who were born just around the time that the Great Depression ended. So they obviously know what it's like to work hard and to earn your living instead of being coddled and getting government checks all the time. So they know what it is to work hard for a living. And while they're more educated, voting isn't like pipes. When I explained this idea to my mom, she quickly moved through the 5 stages of grief over a hypothetical situation that was clearly made up for a column that will never happen. Hypothetical? In this day and age, any shit could happen. Anything could happen. Anything that seems impossible can actually be possible. Look, you have Democrats and Republicans who want to do this, who want to take away the voting rights of older Americans, who want to take away their Social Security, who want to take away their health care. Now, as someone who's libertarian, I don't think that you should take away someone's, welfare. I don't. Because if they're using it to live on until they find a job, they should have it. It's rightfully theirs. I think, I'm fine with Social Security. I am. You know why? Because these people who are in 65 and older, they earned it. They deserve it. It's rightfully theirs. Don't take it away from them. It's their constitutional right to have it. That's what this country guarantees. It's a constitutional right that they can have their Social Security because they earned it. They worked for it. They worked hard for it. While this schmuck, guess what he's doing? Just complaining and bitching why they shouldn't have their voting rights. While he's literally crapping on his parents' generation and saying, oh, they may be smarter, but they don't vote the way I do. Whoa, what? She said before processing to most of the older people I know are more progressive than the younger people I know. And then, that's very anti-American. And then she tried, take it away from very young people before finally landing on, that's so sad and depressing. I would feel like being sent to pasture. I am not sure how spritingly she thinks she is, but walking around a meadow sounds like way more active lifestyle than watching MSNBC and playing Drop 7 on her iPhone. Your mother's smarter than you. When she says most of the older people I know are more progressive than the younger people I know, yeah, she's right. For the most part, she's right. I'll tell you why she's right for the most part. Because a lot of older people that were raised in the 40s, when they were, if they were born in the 30s and they were like preteens in the 30s and preteens in the 40s and young adults in the 50s, they've seen discrimination, they've seen sexism, they've seen racism, and they fought for all this stuff for society the way we have it now. They protested for it. It was your parents' generation that made life better for you. And you want to take away their right to vote? And so anyway, she's right in the fact, for the most part, that a lot of older people are more progressive than young people. Why? Because a lot of young people want America to be the way they see fit, instead of ways that every American can benefit from this country. And I'm a young person, and I'm saying that. So anyway, she says, then she went to, that's very anti-American. It is. She's right. It's very anti-American to take away voting rights from other people. That goes against the Constitution. Then she says, take it away from very young people. I can't agree with her on that, because you're saying that you should take her voting rights away, and she's saying that you should take it away from younger people. Both of you are wrong in that case. You can't take away the votes from younger people or older people because it's a constitutional right to vote. And she says, that's so sad and depressing. I would feel like being sent to a pasture. Yeah, it is sad and depressing to take away the rights of others. And anyway, he's saying, she walked around more. It would be better than watching MSNBC and playing Drop 7 on her iPhone. Your mother has earned the right to be lazy. Speaking the truth, she's earned her right to be lazy. You know why she's earned her right to be lazy? Taking care of you growing up. That was being very active. While she, I'm not sure if your mother was a stay-at-home mom or she worked, I don't know. But if she was a stay-at-home mom, she probably watched her soap operas or watched her TV shows during the day while taking care of you. So, hold on. Anyway. So she earned her right to be lazy. She doesn't have to take care of you anymore. She doesn't have to. You know why? Because you're a grown adult. The only person she really needs to take care of is her husband, which is your father. But guess what? Your father's 76 years old. He can take care of himself. Being honest. So, you know what? Your mother has earned the right to play Drop 7 on her phone and watch TV all day. She's earned that right. He continues, my mom had a point about her being politically active and progressive, since during my last visit she was not only opened the door for a guy asking for signatures for a petition against building on New Jersey's majestic rivers, but also invited him in, gave him a beer, and wrote him a check for $40, which I thought was hilarious until she added, your wife gave him 20. So, yeah, you're saying your mother is progressive and people in her age group are more progressive. But yet you're still saying, though, you want to take away their right to vote. Admittedly, a law barring old people from voting may not make it past the Supreme Court. No shit. Since some of the justices are very, very old, and the 26th Amendment is very clear, and I think I can't take something away from my mom that she enjoys so much except that Drop 7 game, which would be ironic since she spent so much time of my teenage years telling me to stop playing video games and go outside. Though it might not be the worst thing if I switched the election date, unannounced it only on Snapchat. Actually, that will be the worst thing. You can't just switch the election date. And also, why is this guy very ageist towards older Americans? Why is he so ageist? Oh, he's saying, oh, just because the justices are really old people like my parents, get off my lawn, kids, that we're not going to take the right away to vote. But you're fine if a younger panel of justices took away your parents' right to vote. That's exactly what you're saying. This guy's so goddamn hypocritical. It's amazing. It's amazing how hypocritical he is. He's so hypocritical to the point where you question how this guy ever got a job. And watch when I read his cancerous story. Why we are losing the internet to the culture of hate. Which I will say why it's cancerous when I do a video on it. Because the article is most likely hilarious. See you guys.